she's logged in with a different account, and she's ready to speak to us. And perhaps she might share her thoughts on this particular issue. And I would like to invite Edith, Miss Edith Gwokyalya. Could you please unmute and speak to us? Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Sarah. Good afternoon from Toronto. I hope that we're all having great conversations. Well, I have listened in, and my major concern as a psychologist is the fact that the group that was or will be constituted according to the Act, the group of experts that will be constituted to oversee this, does not involve a psychologist or psychologists at all. So when we talk about organ transplant, organ donation, or whatever it is that requires for people to have major transitions, it's important to think about their thought processes. It's important to think about their mental well-being, because there's a life after that particular procedure is done. I speak from a point of, I have been to theater quite a number of times, and I haven't seen a doctor sit me down to ask how I'm psychologically prepared for this, or even during the post-operation. I have not had that. So in this event where people are going to lose like major organs, it's wise to think about their well-being pre-donation. Like before you even think about encouraging them to donate. The doctor that spoke earlier the other day mentioned something about family, and if a family needs, a family member should be contacted, blah, blah, blah. Yes, we can think about the problem and dealing with the problem at hand, but there is a life of the person that has donated that needs to continue, and it has to function effectively with limited resources. I don't know if they ever think that it's important to think about the well-being of the donors, because the person who is the recipient may be in a medical need and all they need is to stay alive, but the person who is giving also needs to stay alive with support. They need to have a pre-psychological assessment before the whole procedure is done is important, and it shouldn't be done in haste, because if it's done in haste, it means that people will not have enough time to think through what this means. Organ donation is not like funds donation. It's not like getting money from your account and giving it to someone. This is an organ. God is wise. He knows why he gives us certain things. When he gives you 2 kidneys, he knows exactly why he gives you 2 kidneys. So in the event that it's scientifically going to be taken out, the person needs to understand, first of all, why they need 2 and how they are going to function with just 1. I also learned about the fact that blood donation is more like organ donation. I didn't know about that until the previous Twitter space. Well, have we also understood why some people are not even bothered about donating their blood? Nobody explains these things. After donating blood, people have sentiments about where the blood is going, whether or not they would even have access to it. I have the same sentiments about this whole organ thing. So pre-assessment, pre-psychological assessment is important for the donor. It's important for the family. It's important for the group of people that are involved. Because we're talking about family, it's important for the group of people that are involved. Think about things like stigma. There is stigma from one surrounding, but there's also what we call self-stigma. Like that time when a person stigmatizes themselves even without nobody looking at them or thinking about what's going on. And self-stigma is the worst because it will automatically send people into a depression. So when we finish with the pre-psychological assessment, if the persons that are supposed to donate their organs are ready to donate their organs, what's the plan for the psychological support throughout, during the procedure and after the procedure? I know Mulago very well. I've been a patient and I've nursed people. So what I don't see anything like there is going to be a team of persons that are going to provide this support. This support is as much important as a group of nurses that come to the ward or the group of doctors that come to the ward. What happens after the person goes back home? We are thinking about people who may have to donate their organs because they don't have enough money to go abroad. Okay? If we have people in the cancer institute that cannot go back home to after their chemo rounds because they don't have enough transportation, so they'll sleep on the veranda, how about people who will need extra support after the operation? Because the people who will go to these institutions are the people who can't afford to go elsewhere. When you talk about psychological support, it is not voluntarily given. Psychologists also need to be funded. So if one has to have, if someone has to have counseling sessions, for example, how many will they need and who's going to pay for this? Has it been considered just like the procedure is going to be paid for? Those are things to think about, because when you say, he talked about psychological, psychosocial support groups and all of that. When a doctor talks about psychosocial support, I wonder, because it's not as easy as it sounds in English. It's not as doable as it sounds. It requires commitment and it requires consistency. Have we put into account that that should be informed by involving persons who have been trained in that particular discipline? So I also want to talk about information, because information is key. During the pre-assessment and post-assessment and all of this, what information is being given? Like I said earlier, people need to know the functions of their organs before they donate them, because they could think that, well, I'm broke, or someone is very sick, I may not need this extra one. But then what happens if they actually need it, or they just need information to make an informed decision? I have a person that I know who donated their kidney to their husband, and the husband passed on. But before he passed on, she was wondering why he was falling sick, even with a functional kidney, or she thought that she donated. He did not even last long before he died. Do you ever think about the kind of thought process that that person could, have? So you find people, wary of doing things, of supporting others, because they just don't have the information. I know very well, because I have been to the medical facilities, that information is not given as required. Why also doctors have an overwhelming number of patients that they need to attend to, that they will not have the sufficiency of time to deliver information that is required by people who are non-medics. The non-medics don't understand this medical jargon. So delivering this information in a language that they understand and can process is different. I can speak English, but probably understand things in my mother language, which is Luganda. If someone explained to me something in Luganda, I probably could conceptualize it better than I would conceptualize it in the official language. Think about the delivery of information and whether or not people have understood these things. Then people need also to understand how these procedures are done. Not necessarily the practical science of it, but say the duration. If I know that I'm going to be on the operation table for 8 hours, I need to know whether I'm ready to be in that kind of space. Psychological preparation for that kind of thing is important, because it's not a matter of just visiting the theater. There is huge anxiety that is involved in operations. So people need to be psychologically set, and the support must be given from a non-judgmental perspective. Someone has to be in that person's space to understand how they would feel. Now, there are some benefits about preparation, but also we need to understand that there is a life after the operation, which I think is more important than just making the decision to donate. There is a lot of anxiety. Like I said, there is, of course, depression will come in. Think about a person that donates their organ to a family member and later have to deal with the dynamics of family relationships, the stigma and all. And what if this person passes on? The dynamics will completely change because there is the blame, and the person who donates could want or may want to feel a little bit more entitled because they gave another person a lease to life. So the other person may be indebted to them for the rest of their life. I don't know what that could mean. And if the other person dies, it's also different. So what about the um, the entire family as a unit? Because the doctor that presented focused this onto the family unit. Yeah. What about the entire family? How do they think about this person? Then the financial bit of things. A person that donates their organs will operate at a different capacity as compared to their original capacity. What if they were the sole breadwinner and they have to now operate at half mast? How about the continuity of the family financially, leave alone the psychological bit? Are they able to work? Behavioral recovery is also very important, and psychological preparation for such times as those is also key. We need to think about it. Then the people who lose organs actually grieve them. We don't just grieve dead people, we grieve loss. So that loss must be taken into account. And ultimately, there could be suicidal thoughts. Now we are talking about just the psychological bit without politicizing any of this. It's important to think about the well-being of the donor, the well-being of the recipient, the well-being of the people that surround them, because they have to have information on how to support them. I don't see how the support groups are going to function without proper support. I strongly recommend, if there is anybody that can make a change on this, that psychologists be brought on board, because they will support, they will help with providing solutions to these such issues. I submit. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Edith, for that very powerful submission. Indeed, your submission underscores the importance of psychologists who have, who have been not even apparently, but who have been overlooked in the whole structure of the of this law as far as the medical council is concerned. So, a psychologist is not one of the experts that is recognized and um, therefore incorporated on this council. Of course, it is very, very important to really, whilst they talk of counseling, I don't think they really go in depth to talk about what kind of counseling, but again, your pre-psychological assessment uh, of the donor is very, very important, and their family, a lot of support has to be given because there are clearly risks. There is a likelihood of this person developing issues around anxiety, depression, stigma, of course, let alone the fact of funding. Yet, this is an issue that is clearly addressed. There should never be any monetary gain. There has to be, yes, they recommend monetary compensation, but it should not be business driven, so to say. So there shouldn't be a monetary gain. But again, these are the questions we've been asking. How will this program be funded? How will a common Ugandan be able to afford this program? Because we know today then somebody's not even able to access the basics. They're not able to access the basics. So what about? This is a very, very costly program. um, the operations are very costly. Everything is costly. So really, the question is, for whom is this program? Because we know the common man even today is struggling in the current circumstances. So yeah, I will not dwell more on that, but